Hello, how is it going, everybody? Today we're jumping into Matthew chapter 13. Looks like I didn't change it up here, so let me do that real quick. Yesterday we were supposed to get through 12 and 13, but 12 took a while, and 13 is all parables. So I feel like that's going to take a while as well. So I think we'll just do 13 today. Let me make sure we're not lagging here. We're good. All right, so let's get the text up on screen and we can get started. There we go. All right. So let's get our Bibles out and we can get started. I believe there's 11 different parables that we're going to cover today. And the first one is the parable of the sower. Let's get the volume up. We can't play.
On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea, and great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into a boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. Then he spoke many things to them in parables.
Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns.
Again, same thing. Talking about get your foundation right. That's the most important thing.
And the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
And the disciples came and said to him,
Why do you speak to them in parables?
Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given.
So he's explaining it in a way for them to understand through stories. And we see that today. Like, storytelling is such a powerful medium to get a message across. You can captivate a broad audience with stories. Look at the entertainment industry, right? That's pretty much what it is, right? Movies, TV shows, the stories that are being told to you. And there are messages that are being told through those stories as well. And that's why the entertainment industry is so impactful on culture. So Jesus is using that. He's using these stories to deliver a very important message.
To know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken away from him. Therefore, I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled, which says, Hearing you will hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull, their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them.
Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. This was before the judgment. I thought this was because the people were closed their minds, and that's why, God was judging them. And it came to the point where God was like, hey, he was not letting them hear, not letting them see, because they reached that point where, okay, this is it. You're being judged now. There's no going back anymore. Hearing you will hear, and you shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. Let's see what my Bible's got to say. Jesus as the failure to just as a failure to respond to the truth brings blindness, so a positive response is rewarded with further understanding. This principle is applied to the leaders of Israel in fulfillment of many Old Testament prophecies, especially Isaiah 6:9, chapter 6, verse 9 and 10. The leaders' rejection of the message of Jesus further blinded them to the spiritual nature of Christ's kingdom. Parables, so that makes sense, but Jesus is talking about the people, not the like the everyday person, not the Pharisees and whatnot, the leaders of Israel. This principle is applied to the leaders of Israel in fulfillment of many Old Testament prophecies, especially Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9 and 10. The leaders' rejection of the message of Jesus further blinded them to the spiritual nature of Christ's kingdom. Parables then became Christ's effective tools for both revealing truth to the faithful and concealing it from those who would reject it. As emphasized by Mark chapter 4, verse 11 and 12, Jesus' parables reveal the truths of his kingdom as well as the unbelief of many. Therefore, I speak to them in parables because, well, let me pull up a commentary so we can go through the text and look at the commentary at the same time. Matthew 13 commentary. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled. By speaking in parables, Jesus also fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, speaking in a way that the hardened would hear but not hear, and see but not see. So he's not saying the people are hardened. He's saying the elite, the people who are the Pharisees and whatnot are hardened, because the people are hearing, and that's what this them means, though. And in them, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled. This them is the people, not the... let's go back to the text. Therefore, I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor... Okay, let me go back. And he answered to them... let me just take it from here. And the disciples came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parables? Who? The people, right? That's what Jesus is speaking to. A great multitude was gathered there. That's the them, the great multitude. So why do you speak to this great multitude in parables? And he answered to them, saying, because it has been given to you to know the great mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. So Jesus is talking to the disciples, saying, hey, you are able to understand the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but the masses aren't. So I need to tell them in a way that they can understand. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled, which says, hearing you will hear and shall not understand, and seeing you will see and not perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. So, let me keep going here. Blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desire to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. So I don't understand. All the commentaries are saying it's talking about the people who are not hearing. It's talking about the elite, the Pharisees, because they have grown dull. They cannot recognize that Jesus is the Messiah, and therefore they can't hear. They're hearing words, but they can't understand. They're seeing, but they can't perceive. But Jesus is not talking about them here. We're talking about the multitudes that have gathered to listen to him. So, if these multitudes have grown dull, they're hearing what Jesus is saying, but they're not understanding. So what's the point in telling a parable? Maybe they can understand the parable, but then again, maybe they can understand the parable, but wouldn't be able to understand like understand just the text or the way their religious elite speak in the temple. Let me pull up another commentary here. Let's do 13. But they because they see not. As the words stand in St. Matthew, they might mean that our Lord adopted the method of parables as a condescension to their infirmities, feeding them as babes in knowledge with milk and not with meat. And St. Mark and St. Luke, the reason given assumes a penal character, that seeing they might not see, as though they were not only to be left in their ignorance, but to be plunged deeper in it. And this is obvious, is even here the true meaning, for only thus does this clause answer to the conclusion of the proverb of Matthew 13:12. From him shall be taken away even that which he hath. In one aspect, that the parable was a veil hiding the truth from them because they did not seek the truth. This makes more sense. But why would Jesus do that? And this was the working of the divine law of retribution. But even here, we may venture to trace beneath the penalty of an element of mercy. The parable could, at all events, do men no harm. It could not rouse the fierce enmity that had been kindled by truth, spoken in its plainness. Okay, makes sense. And it might prepare the way, might set men thinking and questioning, and if so, that was at least one step towards the having, though it were but a very little, which might place them among those to whom more shall be given. But then again, remember, this was talking about, in Isaiah, he was talking about the people how they've grown dull. They're hearing, but they're not understanding. They're seeing, but they're not perceiving. And they're running straight towards destruction because of this. They're not changing their ways. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because they seeing not see not. In pursuance of this general rule, I do not give more knowledge to this people, because they use not that which they already have. Because they use not, okay, I just read that, didn't I? Having all that means of seeing, hearing, and understanding, they use none of them. They do not effectually see or hear or understand anything. For instance, seeing my miracles, which are incontestable proofs of my divine mission, they are not convinced thereby that I am their long expected Messiah. See, that makes sense. That makes sense with how it was written in Isaiah. But the thing is, these people, these multitudes, are coming to hear Jesus speak. So they want to hear the message. On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea, and great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into a boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. Then he spoke many things to them in parables. They were listening. They wanted to listen. The people that we were talking about here, they don't care to listen. They were shooing off Isaiah and Jeremiah and the prophets. They didn't want to listen to the prophets. So, I'm trying to understand here. And hearing my discourses, they're not instructed by what they hear in the design of my coming and the nature of my kingdom. Neither do they understand my doctrine. And in them is fulfilled by the prophecy of Isaiah, which indeed was principally intended of the men of this generation. See note on Isaiah 6:9 to 10, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, or rather, as the words are more properly rendered, ye will hear, but in no wise understand. That is, ye will surely hear. Opportunities of hearing, all possible means of instruction will be given you, yet they will profit you nothing. So Jesus is saying that I am telling these parables to these people, but it's not going to amount to anything. There's no point in telling them the truth plainly, because it's not going to amount to anything. So at least they'll get some stories out of it. That's what it's, but that doesn't make any sense. Because these people want to hear what Jesus is saying. And it feels weird with Jesus having that type of, it's like that attitude of like, these people are not going to understand anything anyways. Like, what's the point? I don't get that. Or I'm completely misinterpreting it. I don't know. But that seems like what they're trying to say here. For this people's hearts is waxed gross, is waxed fat, is sensual, is... Like, they're not understanding what's going on. But then, why are they coming to you to hear? See, that's the difference between the people in Isaiah and the people here. The people in Isaiah didn't come to the prophets to hear anything. They wanted them to stop talking. Namely against the light. Observe they themselves have done it, not God. In other words, they have benumbed or shut up all their spiritual senses, lest at any time they should see with their eyes that light of divine knowledge which would put them to pain, and should hear with their ears those sacred truths which would convince them of sin, and should understand with their heart their real condition of guilt and depravity, and should be converted, effectually turn to God in true repentance, living faith, and new obedience, and I should heal them of their spiritual diseases. That they are unwilling to understand the things of God and afraid, but they're not unwilling and afraid, not desirous that he should heal their souls and save them from their sins. This is Isaiah 6. Go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but not understand. No harder task, it may be, was ever given to man. Ardent dreams of reformation and revival, the nation renewing its strength like the eagle, were scattered to the winds, and he had to face the prospect of fruitless labor, a feeling that he did, but increased the evil against which he strove. It was the very opposite mission of that to which St. Paul was sent, to open men's eyes and to turn them from darkness to light. Yes, exactly. So how is Jesus fulfilling this? So is there like no hope? Jesus didn't have any hope that these people would understand anything. There's a coming judgment. That's why I don't get it. I don't get it. If you want, that's why I see why commentaries are trying to say that the them is the religious elite, is the Pharisees, because then it makes sense. But the them is not the religious elite and the Pharisees here. It is the people, the multitude that came to listen to Jesus. Let's finish this up and I don't know, maybe we might get some clues.
Hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they...
Right? Lest they should see with their eyes, where God didn't want to heal them. This was the time of judgment time. You're not understanding anything I'm saying. You're not hearing anything I'm saying. You're not going to perceive anything. That's it. Time is over. I gave you multiple chances. No more healing, no more forgiving, no more nothing. You're going to be destroyed. This is the judgment. This is destruction. That's what this was talking about. How is this being fulfilled right here?
Stand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly, I say to you, that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear, and did not hear it. Therefore...
We're going right to the next parable. What do you guys think? How do you interpret this? Because I have no clue. Therefore, to carry out the principle of the whole preceding verse, but with special reference to the second half of it, because in this case they have not. Therefore, I speak to them thus. Speak I to them in parables because. In the parallel passages, Christ says that he speaks in parables in order that seeing, but here because seeing. The difference of the thought, which is more formal than real, is that in the parallel passages, their mortal blindness and deafness are represented as the effect of what he says. Parables being used to bring about the punishment for what was presumably earlier sloth, thus laying stress on the idea of shall be taken away in our verse 12 CF, I don't know, that they which see not may be made blind. In Matthew, they present moral blindness and deafness are represented as the reason for the use of parables. Parables are themselves the punishment. The people are fit for nothing else, thus laying stress on the has not of verse 12. Therefore Christ speaks to them in parables. They seeing see not, seeing they see not. Revised version keeping with the order of the Greek, blah, blah, blah. And hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. The participles. So was it like a punishment? Then that makes sense. Then it's like, all right, you're not getting the message. You're not getting the real message. I'm just telling you these stories. But the stories have meaning. They do have a message to them. So he's like, hey, you're not here for the truth. You're not getting the truth. At least let me disguise the truth in these stories so some people can get the truth out of it, and you can get an entertaining story. Is that what's happening here? The participles seeing, hearing in Matthew and Luke probably do not represent the Hebrew infinitive in its common usage of giving intensity or continuance to the idea of the finite verb to which it is joined. So in the original passage of Isaiah and perhaps in Mark, compare also seeing in the next verse, but are to be taken separately, i.e., though they have powers of seeing and hearing, they nevertheless do so use these powers to see and hear. Thus, in meaning, though not in form, as compared with the next verse, seeing is equivalent to seeing ye shall see, they see not, and shall in no wise perceive, hearing to hearing ye shall hear, they hear not, to and shall in no wise understand. Let me pull up the next verse. 13, 14, and then okay, let's go to 14. 14 should be good. Jesus entered into a boat that he might be the less pressed and be the better heard by the people. By this he teaches us in the outward circumstances of worship to not to covet that which is stately, but to make the best of its conveniences. God in his providence allots to us. Christ taught in parables. Thereby the things of God were made more plain and easy to those willing to be taught, and at the same time more difficult and obscure to those who were willingly ignorant. The parable of the sower is plain. The seed sown is the word of God. The sower is our Lord Jesus Christ, by himself or by his ministers. Preaching to a multitude is sowing the corn. We know not where it will light. Some sort of ground, though we take ever so much pains with it, brings forth no fruit to purpose, while the good soil brings forth plentiful. So it is with the hearts of men, whose different characters are here described by 4 sorts of ground. Careless, trifling hearers are an easy prey to Satan, who, as he is the great murderer of souls, so he is the great thief of sermons, and will be sure to rob us of the world, if we take not care to keep it. Hypocrites, like the stony ground, often get the start of. We don't have to. We understand the parable. Christ does not say that this good ground has no stones in it, no thorns, but none of that could hinder its fruitfulness. Okay, what happened in 14? Isaiah said, right? So why is it talking about? And in them is fulfilled. This place is quoted substantially from Isaiah 6, 9-10. It was literally fulfilled in the time of Isaiah. Yes. In the time of Christ, the people had the same character. Like them, they closed their eyes upon the truth and rejected the divine teaching. But then why did they come to Jesus in multitudes? The words of Isaiah were therefore as well fitted to express the character of the people in the time of Christ as in that of the prophet. Because we're not talking about everybody. Because if we're talking about everybody, then it makes sense. right? Because then you'll have some people who don't want to hear, some people who do hear. The people who are here want to hear clearly, and there's some people out there who don't really care to hear, right? But we're talking about right now, we're talking about the reason why Jesus is speaking in parables to these people is because they don't want to hear, and this is fulfilling what Isaiah wrote. And that's what is not making any sense to me. Unless Jesus is thinking about, I'm speaking in parables, so because I know you guys are going to write this stuff down, so a whole bunch of other people can hear. But I don't know, because the word them is referencing the multitude here. If we're going to, within context. It was literally fulfilled in the time of Isaiah. In the time of Christ, the people had the same character. Like them, they closed their eyes upon the truth and rejected the divine teaching. The words of Isaiah were therefore as well fitted to express the character of the people in the time of Christ as in that of the prophet. In this sense, they were fulfilled or filled up. That is, a case occurred that corresponded to their meaning. See notes at Matthew 1:22. Did we even get 20? We didn't even get to 22 yet. What? Chapter 1. What am I saying? We did. We just read that. It is not by any means intended that Isaiah, when he spoke these words, had any reference to the time of Christ. See, this is where we were talking about this in Isaiah. Is it near future fulfillment or a far future fulfillment? This was a near future fulfillment, but could it also mean a far future fulfillment? What did Isaiah mean at the time? Right? Or, Christ could just be using this as a reference to draw a parallel to what Isaiah said, That doesn't mean that what Isaiah said, Isaiah was talking about this instance, you know what I mean? It is not by any means intended that Isaiah, when he spoke these words, had any reference to the time of Christ. But remember, Isaiah was inspired by God, so who knows? Maybe God intended for Isaiah to say this for his time as well as Jesus' time. The meaning in both places is that people were so gross, sensual, and prejudiced that they would not see the truth or understand anything that was contrary to their groveling opinions and sensual desires, a case by no means uncommon in the world. See the passage more fully explained in my notes at Isaiah 6. I get that. The thing is, we're talking about the people that came to Jesus to listen to him. So how do those two fit? That's why Jesus is speaking to them in parables, because of that. How does that make sense? What do you guys think? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I got to start highlighting this stuff. What is this? 'Cause I didn't highlight anything in the Old Testament. I was planning to go back to questions that I've had. I don't I don't know them because I didn't highlight anything. Dang it. Therefore, I speak to them in parables. I'll just highlight that. 13. That was supposed to be a Star Wars game that never came out. Okay, let's keep going.
See, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Therefore hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who receives seed by the wayside. But he who received the seed on stony places, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now, He who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he who receives seed on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and produces, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
And the thing is, Jesus here he said that these people don't understand it. So it's like, blessed are you, disciples, who can understand. These people can't. That's why I'm talking in parables. That's what's confusing to me.
Another parable he put forth to them.
The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, "Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares?" He said to them, "An enemy has done this."
Uh-oh.
The servants said to him, "Do you want us then to go and gather them up?" But he said, "No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both
What are
grow
tares?
together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, First, gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn."
Another parable he put
That sounds like end of times.
forth to them.
The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds. But when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened.
All these things Jesus spoke
Okay, I need some explanation on that. Let's see. 13:33. Let's do the mustard seed first. The parable of the wheat and tares. So it's doing that first. Reveals that the kingdom of heaven will be preceded by an age in which good and evil coexist. The parable of the mustard seed affirms that during that time period, the number of people who will inherit the kingdom will be very small at first. But though it begins like the smallest of seeds, the nucleus will enjoy growth completely out of proportion to its initial size. Where does it say birds of the air? So the birds of the air will come and nest in its branches. The birds of the air do not represent evil as they do in the parable of the soils. In the Old Testament, a tree large enough to support nesting birds was considered prosperous and healthy. The kingdom, though having only a small number of people at the beginning of the age, will ultimately be large and prosperous. Okay, now, the kingdom of heaven is like leaven. Although leaven sometimes symbolizes evil, here the kingdom of heaven is being compared to the dynamic character of yeast. When yeast is kneaded into the dough, it expands by itself. Rather than being powered by outward armies and organizations, the kingdom of God will grow by an internal dynamic, the Holy Spirit, overcoming all opposition. As the parable of the mustard seed addresses the extent of the kingdom's growth, this parable concerns the power and process of its growth. So another parable he spoke to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till it was all leavened.
and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened.
All these things Jesus spoke to the multitude in parables, and without a parable he did not speak to them, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet.
I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things kept secret from the foundation of the world.
So he's speaking things that are secret from the foundation of the world. But he's speaking them in parables so that some can understand.
Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went
If you're
into
listening.
the house, and his disciples came to him.
Explain to us the parable of the tares of the field.
He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age.
Okay. Not 11 parables. I was counting the explanations as part of the parables.
He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels,
This is
and they
pretty
will
easy to
gather
understand.
out of his kingdom all things that offend. And
But the thing is, it must have been, it would probably be hard for them to understand because they didn't have a book of Revelation to reference.
those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys the field. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. The kingdom of heaven is like that. But God, I'm trying to understand. God is like this. God gave his son for us. Let me see what my Bible's got to say. 1344. The parables of verse 44 to 52 concern kingdom values and responsibilities. They are especially directed at believers. The first two are recorded by Matthew alone and appear to belong together. Stripped of their grand dreams and immediate power, and stripped of their grand dreams of immediate powerful kingdom of David and facing the prospect of opposition on all sides, the disciples were forced to count the cost. In the first story, a man stumbles on a treasure trove, which he makes every effort to obtain. The central truth being taught is the immense value of the kingdom, which far outweighs any sacrifice or inconvenience one might encounter on earth. Okay, makes sense. That makes sense to me. You're willing to give up everything for the kingdom of heaven. That's okay, that makes sense.
Merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but threw the bad away. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come forth, separate the wicked from among the just, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things?
Yes, Lord.
Some of it, a good, most of it
Therefore,
actually.
every scribe
all of
instructed
it.
concerning the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who brings out of his treasure things new and old.
Now it came to pass, when Jesus had finished these parables, that he departed from there. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said,
Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son?
Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas?
I know, imagine that. Like, you see this kid running around as a little kid. You saw him grow up, and then now he comes back
And his sisters,
as the
are
Messiah.
they not all
Well,
with
he
us?
was the Messiah then, but you know what I mean.
Where then did this man get all these things?
So they were offended at him.
Come
But
on, they got
Jesus
jealous
said to them,
immediately.
A prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own house.
Now he did not do many mighty works there, because of their unbelief.
So he's like, "Hey, you're not here to listen or see. So I'm not even going to show you anything." So that's going to be it for today. We guessed right, man. We guessed right. We thought today was going to be long, and it was. I mean, it is about 50 minutes. But yeah, I don't know how. We were definitely not going to finish 13 and 14 yesterday. We would have taken 2 hours. So tomorrow we'll jump into chapter 14. 14, we could do more than just one tomorrow, yeah. For sure, we can do more than one. But that's going to be it for today. 8 different parables, all right? We have the parable of the sower. No, not 7. Parable of the sower, the wheat and the tares, the mustard seed, the parable of the leaven, the parable of hidden treasure, the parable of the pearl, and the parable of the dragnet. So 7, yeah. So that's it, not 11. I gotta change that on the thumbnail. But that's gonna be it for today. We raised some questions, answered some, others we didn't answer. So I made sure to highlight it this time. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you have an explanation, let me know, because it's interesting and a bit confusing. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And hope you guys enjoyed Matthew chapter 13. I did. It was nice. I mean, it's God himself telling you stories, you know? So that's really cool if you think about it like that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll jump into Matthew chapter 14. And we're starting off sad right off the bat. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. And hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow for Matthew chapter 14, all right? Take care. Bye-bye. Whoops. Bye-bye. Okay, there we go. Bye-bye.